So let's talk about multi-syllable words and how there's different ways to teach multi-syllable words. A lot of times people talk about breaking up the syllables, and I do that with students too. But one of the things that I always do in all of my reading packets is start teaching about morphology or prefixes and suffixes and base words, root words, right at the very beginning of teaching reading. Once we start teaching words with suffixes like ing or ed, I start talking about morphology. So this comes from early on in my level 2 packet. So we're going to have the student look, and I'm going to say this is a suffix. So I am going to box that suffix. Now I have the word that I can read here. It's base word bend, and this is a word and it's a suffix. The word is able, but when it's a suffix we say able because it's not in the syllable that we emphasize, that we accent. So this becomes bendable. Now I have the student show the student that I'm going to box the suffix that way, and I'm going to say, what do we see in this next word that we could box? Hopefully they'll see that it has the same suffix, able, and I'm going to say there it means able to, and then we have the prefix. A prefix comes before the base, and the prefix is X, and X means out. And then we have a, let me grab another pen here. We have a base, panned, and panned means to spread or stretch. So something that is expandable, you can stretch it out, able to be stretched out. So we have broken this up by morphemes, expandable, expandable. Now this next one, we have a prefix, and the prefix is con. Okay, and then we have this base, plex. So we can have the student read this closed syllable, complex. Complex. Com means wither together, and plex means to weave. So something that's woven together, complex. Then I'm going to have them look at this one and say, okay, we have, can you see something there that might be a suffix? Now, a lot of times these days, people are talking a lot about speech to print, and they just cover things up and have the student read. So they would cover up this part and have the student read that by blending it, fist, and then this part, which is fine, except I like to teach them the suffixes and prefixes. Does that mean they're going to remember all the meanings and all of them every time? No, but they're going to see them enough that they're going to recognize them, and we can keep talking about them until they become more fluent. So we're going to box that suffix, and the suffix is ful. So we're going to read this fist, and this is read as full, fistful. And a lot of times I'll talk to the student about how the word full is spelled F-U-L-L. But the suffix full only has one L. So, but it has basically the same meaning, full of something. A fistful. And then I'll have the student use it in a sentence. Especially students with dyslexia often have trouble, even if they hear the word, they can't connect it. So I want to make sure that they know what that word means. So they're going to use it in a sentence in a way that I know that they know what it means. They might say, I have a fistful. And I'm like, yeah, but a fistful of what? So I want them to picture what they're saying. Then I'm going to look at the next word, and I'm going to talk about this suffix. I have the suffix ness. I want to be consistent with my colors here. Not totally necessary, but helpful. So there's my suffix, NESS, and I'm spelling it because sometimes, like in the way we have ABLE, if I just say a bull, it depends on whether it's accented or not. Sometimes it says able, and sometimes it says able. Usually, as a suffix, they'll say able. So I usually spell the suffix. So I have them read the first base. The base is soft, and my suffix is ness. So there's my base. And when you talk about bases, there can be what we call free bases and bound bases. This is a free base, soft, because I can use it as a word by itself. This is a bound base. We don't have a word panned, so this has to be bound to a prefix and a suffix. So I don't tell the student all of that. At this point, I'm just exposing them to prefixes and suffixes so that they can see them when they are doing their reading. Then we have the same suffix as we did before, and so they're going to read that, and there it is again. And there's a new suffix, en, and it means made of or to make. So I have the base word fresh, and the suffix en, and when I read it in a word, it becomes freshen. So this is one way to handle multi-syllable words. I also work with prefixes. I also work with syllable types at times, and I teach students what to do if they can't recognize a prefix or a suffix. But this is really, to me, the best way of helping students be able to understand words, not just for reading, but also for understanding and for vocabulary.